Hello Eurovision friends, thank you so much for coming to my channel Eurovision Histories. In this video I want to make my first prediction on who will win the Eurovision Song Contest 2025. Now, you might say this is way too early. What on earth are you even basing this on? And you would be completely right. I call this my way too early prediction. But if you've been to this channel, you know that I love speculating and I love to predict stuff. And so I just wanted to do this. What am I basing it on? The track record of countries, but also the feeling you get whether a country is on the right track to Eurovision success, so to speak. Over the last couple of years, maybe they have a team that is very well prepared and they know how to choose a good entry for Eurovision, or maybe there are some news about the national final selection that just give me a bit of hope for these countries. So take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, any country can win. In 2017, no one would have predicted Portugal to win before all the entries were revealed. So again, take it with a pinch of salt, and I will be updating these predictions as the season goes on, as more artists and songs get released, and then it will be easier to actually base these predictions on facts. So, before I start telling you a few countries that I am quite hopeful about in 2025, I wanted to talk about our three powerhouses of Eurovision, I call them, countries that always do well. Number one would be Sweden. Obviously, with their Melodifestivalen, they have produced 7 wins over their participation history, and Melodifestivalen is just a way to select entries that obviously is very successful. They usually choose very chart-friendly poppy songs, but these are also songs that really appeal to the juries, as we've seen in the last couple of years. And Sweden also obviously has a huge music market. It's a huge thing for them. I think they are competitive with the UK in some aspects because they have a lot of successful songwriters, artists, and so Sweden is always a country to watch out for. Same thing for Italy in a way, but in a different way. They have their Sanremo festival. Lots of established and very good Italian artists participate in that festival. It's kind of an honor to get invited to participate, and they bring their best songs to this festival, and so it's always a good bet that Italy might have a great song that they will do well at Eurovision with. A bit different from Sweden. These are not that chart-friendly. They're very Italian, very cultural, and just very high quality, at least according to me, and also in Italian. And the track record over the last couple of years also really speaks for Italy. And then you have Ukraine with their impeccable track record, always qualifying for the final, always doing pretty well, not always, but most of the time doing really well. They just know how to stage their entries, and they choose very different entries over the years, rock, alternative stuff, very different kinds of entries, but always very good. There's a lot of creativity in the country. And so Ukraine is also quite a safe bet. These three, if you look at the next 10 years, every single edition, they are a force to be reckoned with, I would say. So yeah, pretty easy to predict that these three might be in the top 10 and might be doing really well. Next up, I have the Netherlands. Now, after the drama of everything that happened and before the final of Eurovision 2024, I was a bit worried that the Netherlands might be withdrawing, that artists might not want to participate anymore. But it seems like that is not the case. I read today that 331 songs were submitted to the Dutch jury that will choose the entry. There's talk of a lot of very well-known artists, including Anouk and Dovo Bob, returning for the Netherlands. And so it seems like the whole drama and the publicity around it might have made people want to participate for the Netherlands. And also, it's kind of a nice revenge story in a way. You disqualified us, and now we're coming back with the best entry, and we're going to win. I think it was always between either not participating or coming back with a very good entry that has a chance to win. So I'm very hopeful for the Netherlands this year. Next up, I have France. They have really been on the right track for quite a long time, coming second with Waaaay, the great result for Slimane last year in the top 5. just winning junior Eurovision every second year, it seems. And they really, really want to win. And they have a team that knows what they need to do. They have been learning over the last couple of years, I think, as well, how to approach Eurovision, how to get a good jury result and televote result. And so I'm very hopeful for France. The fact that Slimane, a very established artist, had a good result. I think it didn't hurt his career at all. And he also got to perform during some events during the Olympics. So there seems to be a bit of a give and take, so to speak, that he gets to perform on a lot of other programs as well, gets to promote his music. And I think with this approach, they might be able to get more established artists and good artists to come represent France. And they really want it, and that's really the main reason why I put France in this list. I do think they are a force to be reckoned with. This is a bit like Switzerland over the last couple of years, and they did win in 2024, where you really get the feeling they want it and they have the skills also to do it. Then I have a few countries that I call the sleeping giants. These are countries that have a huge music industry with very successful artists that have success all across Europe and in some cases across the world. But at Eurovision, they have kind of been sleeping because they send second tier or third tier artists and don't choose the best songs in some cases. And these are these three countries. The UK, for example, obviously has a huge music industry with a lot of very successful artists, but they don't really send their best to Eurovision. Last year, they had Ole Alexander, who is quite established. Obviously didn't turn out the way everyone hoped it would, but still, the UK just needs a bit of a spark and they might wake up and get great results every single year, as they did in the past of Eurovision. Sam Ryder showed that they can. Then we have Ireland. They kind of woke up with Bambi Thug last year, or this year in the 2024 season is what I mean. And I'm hoping that this good result will have more established artists, good artists wanting to represent the country. And also the selection method seems to have understood that you don't have to choose a Eurovision-y entry, you have to choose a good entry that stands out and that people remember. And last but not least, we have Spain. Music in Spanish, not necessarily from Spain, but in Spanish is so popular everywhere in Europe and around the world. And they really just have to find the good artists because Spanish is such is a language that music really comes across well in. And I think if they find the right artists, they might do it. Benidorm Fest is kind of stuck between almost being like Melody Festival and almost being like Sanremo, but really not getting there. We have seen the list of participants. I don't know any of them, to be honest. But at least they're trying and they are on a good track. I think if they had chosen San Pedro last year, they might have done in 2024. You know what I mean. In the last edition, they might have done much better than they did with Nebulosa, even though I like the song. Then, this might be hubris, and I hope I don't look back at this video in a few months and think, what was I thinking? But I do think that Germany is on a good track this year. Stefan Raab is back. Every single time Stefan Raab was involved with selecting the German entry, we achieved a top 10 result. There's one win with Lena, obviously, for Germany when Stefan Raab was involved in the selection process. I think cooperating between the public channel ARD and the private channel RTL is a great way to get artists to participate because they know they will have a lot of publicity. There will be 2 semifinals on the private channel and the final on the public channel in prime time. So I'm just hoping that we will have a few very good artists and songs in that selection process. And Stefan Raab used to know how Eurovision works, what you need to do well. I hope he still has it. He still has the spark. But yeah, I remain hopeful for the time being for us. Maybe not a win, but a top 10 result would already be amazing. Then next up, I have Norway. And this is mostly because the team behind the entry changed this year. Stig Karlsen, who was always very critical of the juries because the Norwegian entries didn't do very well with the juries as well, is no longer the HOD for Norway. Someone else is doing it. And I think that might be a chance to change the approach a little bit. Over the last couple of years, I feel like Norway had some quite gimmicky entries, very televote friendly, kind of chart friendly in some cases as well, which is not a bad thing. But I think the gimmicky part was a bit too much sometimes. And now they have this new person running things. They will only have one national final night. There won't be any semifinals, which might also show that they are taking a more quality over quantity approach to this whole thing. Choose the best entries and have the Norwegians choose their favorite out of these few entries and not have these big selection processes. So I'm kind of hopeful that Norway, which is also kind of a sleeping giant, I think they also have a good music industry and a lot of creativity in their country, and they know how to stage things as well, might profit from this new approach. Then I have Croatia, mostly because Baby Lasagna did so well last year, and I'm hoping that this will encourage more artists to submit songs for Dora, and the quality will just improve a lot. We have seen that 221 submissions have been made to Dora, which is the highest number since 2019, which might be an indication of that happening. And I also kind of hope that the jury for the national selection, Dora, has learned from their kind of mistake last year, because as we all know, Baby Lasagna only made it to the national final because another entry was withdrawn. He was only on the waiting list and he came second at Eurovision. So I do hope that there's some thinking going into how to select the entries, what is important for a Eurovision entry, and not so much follow their own music taste, so to speak. So I'm quite hopeful to see what Croatia comes up with, and I hope they have a new, very successful era as they did in the 90s, with lots of songs that I really, really love from Croatia. And then I have Finland, kind of, again, because of Kerje, the great result that he had. Kind of a setback in 2024, obviously, because they tried to replicate what they had in 2023 in a way, I think. But UMK, the national selection, is also very well organized. They know exactly how to do things, how to do the PR part of things. And so I am also kind of hopeful about Finland's chances as well. These are the main countries that I thought about. There are some honorable mentions that I had. Luxembourg, for example, they do their big national selection again. Some names are familiar in the artists that were chosen, but they are really putting a lot of effort in, and now they have the experience from last year, so they might be doing well. Then I thought Portugal coming second at junior Eurovision might be like the push that they needed. And then there are a bunch of other countries I would love for. Lithuania, Slovenia, one of these countries coming up with an amazing song and winning Eurovision. But we shall see how this works out. As I said, I will be updating this prediction as more songs and artists get released, Do let me know in the comments who you think will be the winner of Eurovision in 2025. Do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for my next video. See you then, and bye-bye.